love, spirit, and coffee. Got my cafecito here. Mm, it is so delicious today. And by the way, which I'm super excited about. So I took 3 days off, the first time in the history of Spirit and Coffee that I've actually disconnected, walked away from Spirit and Coffee. Did it because sometimes we need a break. Sometimes we get to step away. Sometimes we get to reset, which is really important in life. Um, and it was nice to be able to get away and sort of just kind of go with the flow of the day and not have any kind of schedule, and then just go with it, right? And so pretty nice. During that time, I was very excited because I was traveling a bit, and I went to an espresso place. Good morning. I don't know who just got on here, but good morning to you. Say good morning if I don't see you. I love to say good morning to people. It was a great reset, but I went to an espresso boutique where we had beautiful espresso and just amazing. I love espresso. So good, so yum. And then it's quick and easy, simple, and you can throw it over ice and do iced coffee. Okay, so there you go. There's your coffee moment for the day. Because you know me, I love coffee. Okay, so was a beautiful time. I did travel to see the ocean, which was nice. And definitely things are a little bit strange in other locations, right? Things are still, you know, people and companies and businesses are still slowly starting to open, and everybody has their ways of engaging it with the restrictions and stuff like that. So, but I still got to enjoy my time at the water, which was really nice, the ocean, which reminds us, right, that we're insignificant, looking at all the grains of sand. And if we saw ourselves as a grain of sand, we know that we're this tiny little piece in a big, vast universe, that we are so small compared to this big, vast universe. And it was nice. So, getting to experience that, meeting new people, trying new traditions, new cultures, I love that about life. And I'm going to continue to explore that in my life and not stop that from actually happening, because that's what life's about for me. May not be for you, but it is for me. Okay. So, I love the book, again, The Kundalini Rising. And Kundalini Rising has some information about the chakras. And I've talked about the chakras before. And the chakras are really sort of points in the body that will secrete sort of this hormone, right? They're connected to the different hormones in our body as well. And when this is in balance, and we know that when our hormones are in balance, we then feel magnificent, right? When our hormones are off, things kind of go wonky. They go a little weird in our body. And so, here, let's fix that real quick. Wardrobe fix. So I want to talk about the symbolisms of chakras and how the chakras work. Okay. And we have this beautiful depiction here that shows. Now, the chakras are wheels, and they talk about wheels. So the energy flow goes, and I believe it's counterclockwise, except for the heart, which I think is clockwise, but I can't remember 100%. So we'll go through this, make sure that we understand that. How do we align our chakras so that we're meeting our full potential, so that we're able to live into our full potential? So along the Shishama Nadi, and they're called nadis, right? This is that sort of energy. There's energy centers where numerous lesser nadis intersect, similar to the nerve centers along the spinal cord. These energy centers along the Sushumna, I don't know if I'm saying that right, are called the chakras, or the chakras in Sanskrit, meaning wheel. Chakra means wheel. So we know that the energy flow of them is like a wheel. They may appear to be the inner eye during meditation as wheels of energy or light. Chakras are also described as lotus flowers with various numbers of petals. The energy channel intersecting at the chakra form what appeared to be a petal of a flower. The highest center, technically not a chakra, through which is commonly referred to as one, is a 1,000-petal lotus of Shashara. Because the energy in the subtle body is conscious energy, these energy centers are actually operating centers of consciousness. So each chakra has some sort of consciousness, right, within it. The descent of consciousness from energy center at the top of the Shoshana, called the Shanshara, to the energy centers at the base, called the Muladhara, marks the process of consciousness going from the highest transcendent unity consciousness to the limitations of the embodied consciousness and you and I normally experience as we live out our existence on earth. The Muladhara chakra represents the element of earth and its final destination of divine consciousness. So the base of the pelvis is the earth symbol. It's what grounds us. It's what sets the foundation. It is the base of our chakras. It's at the pelvis and the base of the pelvis. And then the energy moves up. It's almost like through the spinal cord. So what we see in symbolism is the symbol of the snake moving up, which is really the energy flow, right, from the chakras in our body. When we learn how to utilize the internal chakras, we're able to clear out any energy, or I would say any sort of blocked energy that is keeping us from connecting to our higher levels of consciousness. So good morning, Nisha. So we get to clear out all of those things. And when we start to clear it out, we start to pave the way to connect to our higher levels of consciousness. So we have the earth. Then we have water, which is the root of our sexual organs. And I'm probably killing the way that you're supposed to say this. I'm butchering it. I know I am, but I apologize for that. Okay, so we have the Muladhara chakra, which is earth at the base of the pelvis. So whenever we're doing meditation, whenever we're sitting there in meditation, we want to make sure that we're grounded through the pelvis. The energy sort of goes down into the earth. It's like setting the roots, right? Allowing ourselves to set the foundations. Okay, so let's see where we are. Okay, the chakra represents the element of earth and is the final destination of divine consciousness, the Kundalini Shakti. Through the process of descent and manifestation of the world, it is the chakra of the that the Kundalini lies dormant after creating the world and embodied existence. It is here that it awaits the great awakening that all reverse this process, removing limitations consciousness has taken on, and allows us to once again be aware of our transcendence, unbound divine nature. The wave merges back into the sea. The process of involation is the consciousness descending from the formless transcendent Godhead, consenting, contracting, and taking on more and more limitation until it manifests the earthly realm of human existence, involving itself in all of the creation in the process. Evolution reverses this. The consciousness as awakened Kundalini ascending back up through the chakras, becoming even freer of limitations, restrictions, and illusion of being bound and separate from its source. So basically, we pull the energy up into the lower chakra system where it's bound, and we experience limitations of what we are matter, right? Our bodies matter, our bodies dense, and our bodies restricted to certain things. Like we can fly, but we have to put on fake wings to fly. but we can't just fly without some assistance, right? We're sort of bound to the earth. We're sort of like stuck to the earth. Now, we're not like trees, because trees, they can't move. Their roots do. Their roots grow and move, but they can't get up and walk around. So we're a little bit freer, but still we're bound by the limitations that we create. And these limitations come from who? They come from ourselves. We create the limitations that hold us back from actually experiencing the things we want to. Now, people will say, well, no, because the limitations come also from other people, right? Other people are putting restrictions on me, other people, this and that. We are one. So the restrictions that we see on the external world are really a manifestation of the internal world. But in those restrictions and limitations, when we start to remember them, they help us to remember that we can transcend them and that we could become free. Sort of an awakening, which we even see happening right now. People are like, I don't want to be restricted. I don't want to be bound. Don't tell me what to do. They're sort of waking up. Well, then, if somebody's not going to tell you what to do, what would you be doing? What would you be creating? Are you creating the things you want to? Or are you letting it just wash away with the tides? Now's the time, right? Now's the time for you to say, oh, yeah, I do want to create that. I do want to do this, without being bound by the restrictions and limitations. Now, are they bad? No. Good morning, Michael. Are they bad? No. They're there to support us, to remind us, to wake us up, to recognize. So between the Shishara and the Muladhara, between the divine consciousness and the earthbound awareness, there are 5 other energy centers, or chakras. Representing the intermediate stages of consciousness in the process of involution and evolution. Okay, evolution, evolution. I'll show you what it looks like. This is the picture. For those of you on Podbean, and Nisha, I'm not sure if you know this, but involution comes in right from above, and it sort of pulls into the energy from above our head, our crown chakra, down into. And then evolution comes from the root chakra and it moves upward. And in that, you have all of these different centers in the body. And each one of these centers in the body supports us into remembering who we are in our divine self. It helps us to understand the restrictions and limitations that we put on ourselves. It is there to function, to help us say, okay, I am of this earth, but I'm not of this earth. I'm in this earth, but not of it. I'm in it, but not of it. I'm something greater. I can connect to that spirit world, or the connection to the grand picture that allows us to co-create with God, allows us to bring forth the potential that we have within us so that we can co-create the beauty of what it is that we want to co-create with. But it takes time, of course, and it takes skill, of course, and it takes practice, everyday practice. How do I get where I want to go? Main reason why I do Spirit and Coffee. I do it because, why? Because I've had a really good life, okay? I've experienced so much. I've done so much in my life. I feel so very blessed. And I'm like, everybody can experience this. But why don't I see everybody experiencing the things that I experience? Why not everybody? Why doesn't everybody seem to have the same blessings? What is it? Why are people miserable? I'm not saying I don't go through misery, but I'm able to overcome it. And what are the things, right? And I'm like, everybody can experience a beautiful life. Everybody has the opportunity to experience life on fire. What I mean, like enjoying life and loving life. You know, people are like, how are you so optimistic, even in a time of craziness? Even how you're so happy, you're so this, you're so that. What is it? Why? And I'm like, this is a good question. Why? Why do I choose to be excited about life and happy? I'll get to your question in just a minute, Nisha. And I noticed that there are some underlying things that I do, and I'm like, I want everybody to be able to experience what I experience. I want everybody to know that it's possible, that your dreams are as possible as mine, that there's no difference, that if you can think it and dream it, you can make it happen. But how? How? How do I give this gift to the world? How do I give this gift to individuals who feel like they can't experience everything they want to or feel like they're trapped? Hence, I bring up this, right? I don't get, hey, Tony, good morning. I don't get why people are afraid to take chances. Yeah, and that's one thing. It's like what makes those people that are different, right? What's the difference? What I've been on. Nisha says, oh, well, is it possible to provide a list of books? I like the books that you read regarding spirituality. Yes, this is called Kundalini Rising. On my last Spirit and Coffee, when I started Spirit and Coffee, Nisha, good morning, Harry. I started reading the book, the Christ Blueprint, 13 Keys to Christ Consciousness. And I started reading that book. That's how Spirit and Coffee sort of started, actually, was by me reading. And I wanted everybody to read this book because it felt like my soul on paper. And so I said, what do I do? So I got on live and I'm like, hey, people, read this book. And I'm like, they're not going to read it because some people don't read, and that's okay. So I said, I'm going to read it. And that's really what I do. Spirit and Coffee is about me reading and sort of talking about what we're reading. Unless some big event comes and I want to support people through the process. Really, it's an opportunity for us to go through the life's process, right? How do we go through life's process and through the messy part of it and everything? So literally there's no filter for me on Spirit and Coffee. I literally will just, you guys know my whole life story pretty much. There's no secret. I have nothing to hide. I think when we get to the point where we have nothing to hide, we can live as free as we possibly can. The thing is that you're going to get people who come at you and say hateful things and mean things, and you got to be okay with that. You got to be ready to say, well, okay, that's fine. That's your life. If you want to be angry and mean, that's not my problem. I love you anyway, and continue to do your what you do. So, yes, the books, and also, Nisha, if you want to send me an email at spiritandbrew@gmail.com, I can just write you up a list of books. Just send me an email and I'll let you know. I have a bunch of different books that I read. I pull from all different places. It's like integrated, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary. Not just one way of thinking, but how do we look at this whole picture from different perspectives? And I'll never learn everything. There's no way I could ever know that. Just not possible. Nobody can. But I'm going to continue to be a seeker and a learner. Why? Because I want to take chances and not be afraid. Like Tony said, how do we take these chances, but calculated and not denying the critical thinking part of it, but also interweaving our sort of creative part with the logical piece of our mind? How do we interweave the two? So we can take calculated guesses at our life instead of just, and I'll throw myself into the waters without, and because I take those kind of risks. Some people won't. Some people take calculated risks. But if you take those calculated risks and you're calculating and never take the risk, you're going to miss out. So eventually you got to jump. And that's where trust comes in, right? There's a whole lot that goes into doing that. Trusting yourself, trusting in God, trusting in the universe, that the universe will show up to provide and protect. It's very scary sometimes for people to do that because they're like, some people may not even believe that, they don't have the belief that God exists. And some people believe they have to control everything. And so it's very frightening for them to just take that chance without any sort of proof that it's going to work. Some people need the proof. Some people don't believe in God because they don't feel like they have proof of God. So there's different ways of thinking, right? Also, it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of divine will. Yeah, I know what you mean, not bad risks. But sometimes, Tony, people think it's bad and they're afraid. Because we do calculated risk, our chances, but still it's a risk, right? Walking out of our house every day is a risk, but some people don't see it that way, but it is. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen during the day. We don't know what's going to happen when we walk out of our house. We don't, even in our house, we don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of risks out there. And sometimes people are just afraid, right? Depending on what their programming, their conditioning is, to actually go forth and do it. And it takes a lot of divine will, courage. So I had talked about the Wizard of Oz and the different elements of the Wizard of Oz. And we know that the different elements were sort of depicted in the movie. Okay. And oh, good morning, Nicole. Yay. We know that in the movie of Wizard of Oz, right, that we have earth, water, air, fire. When we talk about fire, we talk about courage, we talk about the lion in the Wizard of Oz, if you guys have watched it. If you haven't watched it, and he was a coward, right? He was afraid to come out of the woods, or he didn't know what to do. He's afraid of everything, so he didn't take those risks. And then eventually he took the risk. He stood up, he stood brave, he stood tall. And then he realized, oh, it's just a switch in the mind. It's a switch in who we are to be able to experience things. Sometimes we have to take those risks. We don't know what the outcome is going to be sometimes. But we can't get anywhere and we can't experience new things without taking those risks. Good morning, Lisa. Salud. And it's like you, right? You moved away, Tony, and that was awesome. That was probably scary. Some people will never do it because of the unknown. The unknown. What am I going to have friends? Who am I going to meet? Where am I going to post up? And they have all these questions, and then they get stuck. They get stuck. And really, that's what this chakra system's talking about. The energy that gets stuck, and how do we clean out that energy within our system, our energy field, so that we can then take those risks and those chances where opportunity exists, because we know that's where opportunity is. We can't have something different if we don't take those risks. We can't. It never will happen. It'll just be like Groundhog Day, right? Where it's the same thing. But even, and in that movie, I love talking about movies because it sort of paints a picture for us. But people were saying this whole experience was like Groundhog Day. Again, stuck in the same thing. However, he realized that he can engage the day differently, and that the change wasn't the day, the change was how he engaged the day. So we have the opportunity to engage our life differently if we choose to. Takes practice, takes courage, takes skill. It also takes a lot of, I want to say, spiritual energy. It takes confidence in order to do that. So some people sort of have to look at their life and say, am I confident? Am I brave? You know, like when I moved to India, I didn't know anybody. And was it a full risk? No, there was some things that I did. I said, I'm going to do it no matter what. But here's what I did. I didn't know anybody. So I said, well, I'm going to go with some Americans. I'm gonna go with some Americans. I went to a country where they spoke English because I was like, I need to be able to communicate. And a lot of people in India speak English. Most people do. And I said, okay, so those were a couple of things. And I felt a little bit more comfortable. Did I know anybody? No. And then at the end of the day, even though there were Americans, I was hanging out with my Indian friends and I met people. And it made me a little bit more brave. That's another thing. Unless we experience, we don't, like Tony, you have the experience of traveling. and living in another place. Now you're not as afraid to do it because you've already done it once. So it's kind of like me. I went traveling and I was thinking about this. When you're traveling to a new destination or location, you don't know it. And the culture is different, even in our own country. The culture is different everywhere based on where you live. And you start to travel, you go, and the first couple of days you're trying to figure out the area, the culture, the people, what are locals doing, what are all these things. And you're getting to know your area and your surrounding. What's safe? Where's a good place to go? Where's a not good place to go? Where should I eat? Where shouldn't I eat? Where's the grocery store? Where's the workout centers? This is what I do, right? I'm like, where's a gym that I can go to? How do I get there? So you're sort of scoping it out. Then a few days in, you kind of get the pace of the neighborhood and what's going on and who's around and the people. Okay, and then you finally start to get into the swing of things. You start to understand how things are working. Then if you visit again, you sort of know, and then you start to become an expert, and before you know it, you're comfortable. But when you were first there, you weren't comfortable. It was a little weird. It was new to you. It was fresh. It was like, well, how do I engage? How do I behave? Who am I? Who can I be in this particular place? You may even discover new things about yourself. And that's even the deep dive within our chakra system. We discover new things about ourselves too, because diving into our consciousness is a scary place as well. Some people don't want to do it because they're afraid of what they might find inside. It's the same as traveling. Well, what's there? What's there for me? What's scary? Well, there might be some scary stuff in there that I have to dig up and pull out like skeletons in the closet. But once we start to probe, okay, I don't know if that's the right word. We start to look around and dig. Then we start to become comfortable. And we can do this within our own internal life, our own internal self. Take a trip into your own self. You don't even need to go anywhere. Just take a trip inside. And when you start to get comfortable and start to learn how to maneuver, you get a little bit more confidence. So the confidence is not just about the external world, it's the internal world. How do I find the confidence within myself? How do I navigate myself? How do I navigate the internal world of who I am? I was a cowardly lion. That's what Tony says. It took a lot of courage. I'm sure it's meant to say a lot of courage. And I'm pretty sure you meant to say, had to put a tattoo on my back to remind me I have it in me. And I'm still working on it every day. Absolutely. It's an everyday thing. Thanks for sharing, Tony. Everyday courage, everyday digging within yourself. And it's really not the environment that we're scared of. We're more scared of ourselves. We're scared of the internal world that we have. We're scared to engage it so that we can have the courage to step into a world that may seem frightening. So dig into your own self. Go deep into yourself. Take a field trip into your chakra system, into your root. Ask yourself questions. And that's how we do. That's how we start to awaken. We ask ourselves questions. And then we just sort of ponder on it. Live in a question. That's a good way to do it. Live into a question. Doesn't need to be an answer. There can be many answers. There can be many ways to engage the question. Like, how do I utilize this new energy in my life, in my relationships? The way that you utilize the new energy that you may find could be different every day. Doesn't have to stay the same. Things can change. The way you engage certain situations can change. You may be mad at this person one day, and the next day you're like, I'm ready to forgive and engage you in a different way. Also, I'm ready to set up boundaries with you because it's obvious that I personally can't stay in the relationship the way it was before. But I don't want to lose you as a person because I still love you. But it may look different, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. but there's like maybe rejection where the other person may not be, and then you get to deal with that. Well, how do I engage new relationships? How do I engage new surroundings? How do I interact with? If you just remain in a question, live with it for like a week. Live with that question for just 1 week and see where it takes you. And an open-ended question, not a yes or no question. Not a, is that good food? Yes, no. It's, what are the flavors of the food? How does it make me feel? Well, it makes me feel good. Or I don't really like the flavor because blah, 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 blah. Okay. How do I venture off? I ventured off to the ocean. Some people are afraid to travel. Some people are afraid to get out. Some people are, there's a lot going on. For me, I'm going to do my life. I'm going to do what I do. Is it take courage? Yeah. There's like, oh, well, let the guinea pigs go out there and do what they're going to do first. But we can't stop ourselves from moving around. We still got to go to the grocery stores. We still got to go, I don't know, pay the bills. Well, I guess we can do that online, but there's still things that we've got to get out and do. I mean, you could stay recluse in your house forever, and that's fine if that's for you. Nothing wrong with it. You can venture into your own self. Perfect time to do that. Different ways to approach different things, but have the courage, and that comes from deep within. It's a little further up on the chakra system, but the grounding and the earth, the ability to pull forth, the ability to understand the limitations and the restrictions that we've set for ourselves. That's really what it's talking about. How do we look at the restrictions and limitations? If fear of movement is one for you, then how do we support ourselves to move? Maybe all you need to do is dance around the house to get moving, to sort of jolt that particular chakra into movement. Maybe it's been stagnant. So how do you get it to move around? Maybe you don't need to be so courageous to go outside and explore the world, but maybe you just need to put on music and dance around the house and be okay with being a fool with yourself, like dancing around with music on, no one's around, but still some people are even afraid to do that because maybe some invisible person's watching them. Or they're afraid to do the funky chicken. I like to do the funky chicken, by the way, by themselves, let alone in front of other people. So let's make a Monday a funky chicken Monday. Like, be courageous to do the funky chicken in your house with the music full blast by yourself and do the funky chicken. Some people won't because they're just like embarrassed. They're embarrassed. They're afraid. But no one's watching you, so who cares? But it gets you a little bit closer to saying, I'm willing to be brave enough to do this, right? It sounds silly. It sounds like a silly practice or like, that's dumb. Do it. If it's so dumb, so silly, try it. See if you can do it. I've done the funky chicken on my live videos. I will do it in a crowd of people. And then when people laugh at me or make fun of me, really deep inside, they're saying, I want to be as free as that. I want to be able to just have this carefree feeling of being who I am and fly. When you do that, you feel flight. You feel like you're flying or you're floating. So that is my Monday message. We're going to go through the chakras. I love that this has the chakras. I'm going to get the language correct on them. Maybe I'll go listen to Google and see how Google says it. Google Dictionary or whatever it is to tell me how to say the words in Sanskrit correctly. talk about the chakras and release some of the limitations that you guys have on yourself, whatever those limitations are. And some of them may be magnified right now because of all that's going on with everything that has shifted so dramatically, so drastically, and so quickly. It happened very fast, where everything around us seemed to shift. How do we engage that? How do we become brave? You're like, well, how does the funky chicken relate to this? It does. It does. It does, because if you're brave enough to do the funky chicken alone, and then you're brave enough to do it in front of a crowd of people, you know that you're mustering up the courage that's internal within you to bring it forth, to say, I am who I am, and I don't have to be ashamed of that. I feel good music on. Woo, day off. Yay. And when I go visit you, good morning, young boy. Assad. When I go visit you, we're going to do the funky chicken. That's what we got to do, Tony. We got to do the funky chicken together. So do the funky chicken. That is your Monday morning madness. Do the funky chicken. Allow yourself to be brave. Overcome your obstacles. Allow yourself to, good morning, Suzanne, move yourself through the darkness. And allow yourself to illuminate the areas that have been restricting you. And sometimes it's the funky chicken that helps us get through it. Believe it or not, I'm not even kidding you. I will be the first to do it. And people, I'm telling you, people will laugh. They'll be like, ha, 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 what is it? That girl's weird, or whatever they make up about it. And then at the end of the day, they get it. They get that it's just, it's a it's an engagement or an opportunity for people to realize that it's not that serious, and that they too have within them the ability to overcome the self limitations that they and the restrictions that they put upon themselves. Okay. So go do the funky chicken. And young boy, if you don't know what we're talking about, go back and listen so you can understand where the funky chicken came from. Why we're doing it. We're doing it to be brave, to be bold. You don't have to be crazy, outrageous, and destroy things. You could merely just do the funky chicken to be free. Isn't that crazy? Find your freedom in the funky chicken. Okay, so I love you guys. Of course, I will be seeing you guys tomorrow. And thank you for showing up. And it was just nice to take a little break. We're going to continue on the chakras. You know me, I'm kind of all over the place these days, but you know what? It's a chaotic time. So not only will embrace the chaos with it, I will go with the flow of chaos at this point until I find my middle path, ground myself again, and then find focus. But it's okay. Be in the chaos. Okay. So I love you guys. Have a great day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.